What is up, Steeler fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Steelers Hangover. This is another Victory Monday, one that we haven't seen for a couple of weeks now. I'm Daniel, your Steel Curtain Network host. Alongside with me, as always, Shannon White. Shannon, how are you feeling on this Victory Monday?
It was definitely a Victory Monday I wasn't expecting. That's why you never. I would never be a gambler because I would lose a lot, especially trying to bet on Tomlin's teams. Because, like I told you before we started, they can beat anybody, they can lose to anybody. It just doesn't matter. I thought that they played much better effort. That's what I watch every week is effort and execution. And both were better than the previous couple of weeks, especially the defense. And so I was pleasantly surprised. And so it'll quieten the the boo birds and the seat getting hot at least for one more week, right?
Yeah, we'll definitely hope so. And so, this game was a big game. And, I kind of, if you guys watch or listen to the other podcasts that we do, I have a podcast that airs out on Saturdays called State of the Steelers. It is a audio-only podcast that's available on steelcurtainnetwork.com. And the title of the show was, so you're saying there's a chance, try to, copy the old Dumb and Dumber catchphrase that's in that, or phrase that's in that movie. I thought that there was an opportunity for the Steelers to turn this around, but I'll be honest, I was nervous going into this game. I thought that, hey, this team has the potential to turn it around, especially on the defensive side. They have the names. They just got to figure it out. And, I wasn't sure if it was going to happen this week against the Colts, but I was super nervous going into the game thinking that, hey, it's going to be either the team has figured it out and they're going to turn it around, or this is going to be a rout. There was no in between for me. And it started off kind of scary. Steelers go 3 and out. They kick the ball off. The Colts go down the field, score touchdown right away. And then the Steelers go 3 and out again. And, they end up punting the ball, getting the ball off of a turnover, which I had said that, in this upcoming in my post before, I was like, the Steelers are going up against a team who hadn't turned over the ball. They're going to have to get the ball if they're going to want to win this game. And right off the bat, there's one kickoff turnover right away. Steelers don't do anything with it. But what were your thoughts of the opening couple of drives there? The 3 and outs, Indianapolis Colts moving down the field, and then the Steelers not do anything after getting the turnover right there in scoring position.
Well, before I can say anything, I have to acknowledge the fact of what was different. In this game, because we've seen it for 18 years. Tomlin is who he is, and this coaching staff hasn't changed. It's just, I said, well, something's different. And they said that Jalen Ramsey give a speech the night before the game, and everybody said it was unifying, and everybody kind of got on the same page. Some of the people that have been a problem were out injured and sick, and they had to play guys that they haven't had a chance to confuse the heck out of at training camp. And they brought in Kyle Duggar and put him in there, and he instantly just did his role. It was simplified. They mentioned it during the game. It was simplified. And so they quit making a lot of these stupid mistakes. Peyton Wilson said after the game, the secondary played better, played more solid. It didn't let him have his first read every time. Because if the first read's always open, no pass rushers are going to get there. You got to make him go through his progressions, and that gives the guys a chance to get back to the quarterback. And they didn't blitz as much, so they changed a few things up. Multiple things happened to make this possible. But I really like the creativity. that Arthur Smith is scripting into the first drive. The first couple of series is scripted, and he's putting some good creativity in there. But one thing, if you're noticing, and I mentioned it 2 weeks ago, Aaron Rodgers is missing high early in games. Now, that first play he scripted up was a great call. And Jonnu Smith would have had 20, 30 yards easy on that reception.
Mm-hmm.
But he missed him. He missed him high and outside. Like he missed Connor Hayward a couple weeks ago. I mean, it's a repetitive thing. And the reason why, if you watch, Aaron Rodgers can throw from any angle, but he's throwing off his back foot. He's throwing, trying to get it out quick. And early in games, he's missing a little high. So that first drive should have been successful, Daniel. I think it should have at least would have ended up in field goal range. But they still make a little bitty mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't have the killer penalties. I don't know if anybody paid attention, but there wasn't a lot of those false starts or holding or whatever that backed them up and got them out of rhythm and distance. So
Right.
I was encouraged after the first because, again, he just missed an opportunity at a big play. They were, right off Jonnu's fingertips. And now the second punt, I was like, oh, man, after letting the defense let him go right down, I said, this looks familiar, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the muff punt.
Yeah, that punt was yeah. I give a lot of credit to Corliss Waitman because of the left-footedness or the left-footed punt.
Yes,
The fact that it makes the rotation of the ball change. And I don't think that guy, the Indianapolis Colts player that the ball bounced into, was expecting the ball to bounce back towards him. I think he was expecting it to continue in the direction that it was going. And when it bounced back at him and hit him in the chest and the Steelers got it, I was like, all right, here's the opportunity. Here is the game-changing momentum swing play. You can do something. Now,
Yeah.
Were you aware that you couldn't take the punt into the end zone?
Yeah, I've seen that happen too many times. I hate that rule, but I've seen it, yes.
I don't understand why it's a rule. I understand that they got the right call. I just don't understand why it's the right call.
Yeah, I don't either. I've never liked it, but I was so excited because your first instinct's like, "Hey, we scored a touchdown," and then you remember, "Oh no, it ain't a touchdown."
Right, exactly. And so I was like, you know what? But this is going to give the offense the confidence they need. They're still learning each other. Darnell doesn't turn around as fast as he should on a couple of those plays. Were you for? Or on the, I think it was on the fourth down, hits him in the chest right as he's turning around.
Mm-hmm.
Should have caught it. But were you for them going for it on fourth down in that situation, or would you have rather they got the points?
No, wholeheartedly go for it. Because, again, I thought that the Colts was going to put up 40. So I thought the only way the Steelers stay in the game is to score 40. So I would have went for it. Again, Darnell has not been developed as a tight end. Even at Georgia, he was used mostly as a blocker, as an extra tackle because he's so good at that. And he's still great. And his future probably will be at tackle. After he dropped that fourth down pass, I looked at my wife and I said, well, his future's at tackle. But if you watch, he didn't get his head around because he's not used to being the hot option on the goal line. And that's because they haven't used him and utilized him correctly in the past. Now, the first one he had in his hands on third down, but the guy knocked it out. So, you understand that. I mean, he's big, is strong enough. He could have caught it, but it's hard when the guy's got his hand there, trying to block it out. But that one, like you said, it hit him. I mean, Aaron can't throw it no better than that. He hit him right between the numbers. And I know Washington felt bad. But the great thing, Daniel, is they kept going back to him. Yeah. That is something that didn't happen in the past. If a guy made a mistake, he gets in Tomlin's doghouse, he never comes off the bench. But see, it's funny. It's like, Johnson made a mistake earlier in the year, and then we didn't see him for a good while. Last week, we had Gainwell he fumbled. Everybody's going to fumble eventually if you play long enough. And Gainwell fumbled. But they went right back to using him, right? And he had
Yeah.
a good game yesterday. So it's like if it's a veteran, they don't get Tomlin's doghouse as much as if it's a young guy. And it's same thing with Washington yesterday. He did drop that, but they kept going to him. Aaron Rodgers kept throwing to him, and he caught 5 passes. So, I mean, you have to keep using the guy. Roman Wilson made a mistake yesterday.
Oh, I don't think
It
we've seen
was
him for
not
a
a
while.
mistake. It was a mistake of effort. He was trying to make a big play. Guess what happens? You don't get used. You don't get opportunities. You get an opportunity. What do you try to do? Too
Too
much.
much.
And then you fumble. You can't. You got to keep using him. I mean, young guys especially make mistakes, but that's how they learn. I bet he don't do that again.
I hope he gets the opportunity to not do that again. I don't know if that's going to happen for him, but I think there's an added element to this, and I think it's the trust from the quarterback. I think Aaron Rodgers really likes Darnell Washington. I think that when Pat Freiermuth dropped that deep pass, early on in the season, and then he didn't get a target for like 2 games.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
He went back at him and multiple times. I think he likes the matchup. I think he likes the size and his athletic ability with, combined with the size and the mismatch that you have on the outside. He's going to continue to go to it. Yep. And yes, he dropped the one that he should have caught and the one that hit him in the chest, but he caught another one that was pretty impressive. That was kind of, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he had to turn that whole big body around to catch him behind him. It was beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And while getting hit. And so,
well, he didn't feel that.
Yeah. It was just bounce off of him. But he's a big man. And, like I said, I think Aaron really likes him. I think he trusts him and DK. Those trio there, they have something there with the trust aspect, which kind of brings in, something that the moves that are coming up. The Steelers apparently are signing Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I think I said that right. Maybe it's Scantling Valdez.
Yeah, you said it right.
All right. Sometimes I get dyslexia. I mix things backwards every now and then. He's MSV is coming in. This is a former friend of or colleague of Aaron Rodgers, somebody he knows, somebody he trusts as well, somebody that he's played with in the past. He's signing on with the practice squad. Do you anticipate this being the final move, or do you think maybe perhaps Steelers got another trick under their sleeve, before the trade deadline tomorrow?
That really isn't going to move the needle. It'll be more similar to Williams last year, right at the deadline. You bring in a veteran, he might catch one big. Williams caught one big play last year,
right,
to beat Washington, but other than that, he really didn't do anything. I mean, it's good that Rodgers has another former teammate, friend on the team, and maybe he's a good veteran presence for some of the guys. I don't know. Hopefully he's a good fit, but no, if they're going to do something that's going to really impact this season, they need to get somebody of substance and somebody that they can have, with the team maybe 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I would want somebody. There's a lot of names being floated out there that's the right age, range, experience, and quality number 2. If they were going to do something, I think you could justify it. With this win, and now they're 5-3, and you're still seeing progress on the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that the offensive line did very well for the most part, even with Samalu going in and out. I don't know if you've seen the block that Fautano put on Buckner.
Again.
He was engaged with Spencer Anderson before Anderson had to move over to guard.
Yeah.
And he was engaged with Anderson, and he made an inside move, and he wasn't. See, Fautano didn't have nobody to block. So Fautano was kind of standing there paying attention. And when Buckner beat Anderson to the inside, Fautano laid him out. He looked like an old person stepping off the curb and getting hit with a bus. I mean, he laid Buckner flat on his back, looking up at the stars, and he was just standing over him. They need to make a poster of that. I mean, Fautano, because Buckner's a heck of a player.
Yeah.
And it was a thing of beauty. If you get a chance, look it up on X or Twitter, whatever it's called. But Yeah, it was a beautiful play, but you're starting to see the offensive line come around. They're running outside zone correctly for the first time uh, since they hired Meyer as offensive line coach. They got the guys who can run outside zone in Warren and Gainwell and Johnson. So, and Rodgers is still not making the huge mistakes. He's making, like I said, when he sets his feet, especially, he's incredibly accurate.
Right.
So, if they really think that they can make a move to help this year, but be around for a year or two in the future, they might still do something tomorrow, but we'll see.
I'm not holding my breath. I think we've heard this song and dance before.
Yep.
And to me, one second. To me, it's just, the signing of Marcus Vantley or Miss V. To me, that was, he wasn't going to sign until this week for whatever reason. I don't know if he had some other prior engagement or something of that nature, and he decided, hey, I'm going to wait a week and give the Steelers the opportunity to find somebody else or fill that slot with someone else. And he wanted to wait a week, but they signed him, and I guess they're making it official to the practice squad. And give me one second. Sorry about that. I got some itch in my throat. And to me, that kind of told me, yeah, all right, well, I guess this is the quote unquote move. I know some folks are saying in the live chat, what kind of move is a guy who wasn't on a team getting signed to the practice squad? Well, that's the kind of move that I was expecting the Steelers to make. Not much of one. And yeah, I'm not expecting them to do anything. If they do anything, I'll be pleasantly surprised. But I'm not going to hold. I'm not going to hold my breath for it. I think that Roman Wilson had a big mistake, as you mentioned, but I think up to that point, he's been in the limited, targets he's had and his playing time on the field. I think he's doing the best with it. And so, I don't know where a wide receiver 2 would fit in this offense. I mean, maybe perhaps if you got somebody of, the name that maybe it alleviates some coverage on DK, you get some more one-on-one opportunities with him. Where would a wide receiver 2 of anything more than what the Steelers are targeting the other wide receivers, where would their targets come in?
Okay. I mentioned it in our discussion points. We have to realize I love DK Metcalf. Everybody knows that. I'm thrilled with getting Metcalf, getting rid of GP. I'm very happy. DK Metcalf is a 10 in everything but one area. He is not a hands catcher. He's got everything you want in an elite receiver, but he doesn't have hands. He catches a lot of body catches, and he has trouble closing the catch radius. It's like this hand's down here and this hand's he really struggles. So if he's in traffic, or the ball gets on him before he's ready, he drops passes. It's not a lack of effort, which drives me crazy. He doesn't run backwards. He doesn't run sideways. He does everything. He blocks. If there's a turnover, he hustles. He does everything I love in a wide receiver. But he's just a guy it's really needs a possession receiver next to him. Now, right now, the Steelers have been using tight ends. And I will mention while we're talking about this, Connor Hayward is playing great. He's been very versatile. He runs the tush push very well. He has been blocking very well. On special teams, he's second, I think, in tackles. He's playing really good on the cover teams. And he can give you that pseudo fullback, H-back type player. So we talked about the tight ends. We didn't mention him, but I think he's actually done very well. But if you get a quality number 2, like the Raiders right now, they should be sellers. They are not going anywhere. And you got a guy, Jacoby Myers, who wants out of there. So I expect him to go somewhere. Why not Pittsburgh? We'll see. I think the Redskins last night, they did it. The not the Redskins, Washington. Let's just say Washington.
Yeah.
They're done. They're done. And they can be sellers right now. The Saints. I mean, there's teams that have receivers that this season they're done. They need to get extra draft picks for the upcoming draft. So there's guys out there, Daniel. Is Omar Khan willing to pay the price? But watching the games this year, I think Metcalf would be even better utilized if you utilize him more to stretch the field, long crossers. Don't expect him to make catches in traffic, comebacks. That's not his skill set. Get a guy who's a really good possession number 2 guy who could get open, keep the chains moving, take advantage of Metcalf getting extra coverage and extra attention with safety help over the top. There's guys out there, so it might happen. I'm like you. I'm not holding my breath. But if it does, I think they could make it work, is what I'm saying.
But where would they fit is my question, because
they're using Jonnu really like a wide receiver too. They're not using him like a tight end.
Right. So he had 5 targets. Washington had 6 targets. Pat Freiermuth had 4. Let's see who else out of the tight end room there. I think those are the 3. Would you
say that they're utilizing Jonnu effectively? I don't think they are. Jonnu to me, everybody's fitting. Darnell Washington's really coming in, and they're using him and his size mismatch. Freiermuth is starting to be utilized the last 3 weeks. But to me, the guy that's terribly underutilized, and he doesn't quite fit. It seems like Rodgers can't get on the same page with Jonnu. So in my opinion, if you get a quality number 2 guy, Jonnu is even expendable if somebody would want him in a trade. Or you trade Freiermuth. But somewhere along the line, Rodgers and Jonnu Smith have got to get on the same page, and it hasn't happened.
Because right now the tight ends are commanding 15 targets out of 35.
Yep.
That's quite a bit of targets to the tight end position. But you're right. I think it's because they're utilizing Jonnu as wide receiver too. But
and Freiermuth to some extent.
Yeah. Right. And that's 9 targets there. Calvin Austin had his 6. He had the most for the wide receiver room. DK Metcalf had 4 with only 2 receptions. Roman Wilson had 2 targets, 1 reception, 1 fumble. I guess you would see the problem is if you start taking off tight ends off of the field, it kind of goes away with what they're doing right now, and what they're doing well right now is having so many tight ends and forcing defenses to play a certain way, right? Where they come out there, you have these big guys that can block, and you got these big guys that can catch and do some things in the open field, which is making it turn into a mismatch nightmare. Bringing in a receiver, taking off a tight end, you become a little bit less of that mismatch to a certain extent, don't you think?
Well, Jonnu is the worst blocker of all the tight ends. Connor Hayward is a better blocker than him. Pat Freiermuth is not good as a blocker. He's still better than Jonnu. I'll say this. Roman Wilson blocks as good as Jonnu, if not better.
Okay.
So if you get a quality number 2 who's a willing and able blocker, who puts the effort in and tries to at least get in the way, he's as good a blocker as Jonnu is. Jonnu is really just a slower, oversized wide receiver. He's got good hands. He just has not been a good fit yet. They can turn it around. Just like I thought Freiermuth wasn't going to be a good connection with Rodgers, and they've changed in the last few weeks. We're starting to see them develop chemistry. I'm not seeing that chemistry with Jonnu. So, again, if you take Jonnu off and you put another quality receiver out there, you can still run your heavy packages with Spencer Anderson, and you still got Darnell Washington, who's like another tackle, who can run and catch the ball. So they still will have their heavy package and they'll still have a specialized offense. They will just have a more competent number 2 wide receiver.
We'll see. We'll see. I just seems to me like Arthur Smith likes his tight ends. He's got 15 targets to the tight ends. He's doing some pretty crazy stuff. In fact, last week, Spencer Anderson caught a pass, and so he's even doing some things with the offensive tackle. The wide receiver room, this week was led by Calvin Austin with targets and receptions, also yardage. He had 56 yards. His return, he did some pretty good things. We mentioned some things at the tight end room. But offensively, they started off slow, but they ended up turning up the heat a little bit and getting going. It took them some time, but when they started to move, I thought they did fairly well. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. We'll talk about this defense also finally stepping up and a little bit more once we get back from the break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a few words. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Steelers Hangover. Before we get back into the conversation, I'll remind you guys of our website, SteelCurrentNetwork.com, your one-stop shop for Pittsburgh Steelers news and coverage. Go check it out. Get caught up to and up to date on the Steelers news. You won't be disappointed. So, back to the game, there was a huge turning point. TJ Watt gets a strip sack. What was your first thoughts? I'll tell you what mine were. Mine were finally. I think that's what I find. That's exactly what I said when it happened. What were yours? What was your emotions? What were your thoughts when TJ gets a strip sack and recovery, the trifecta?
I said, thank God we have a TJ Watt sighting. I mean, invisible man missing in action, whatever you want to say. That was a huge play when the Steelers needed it desperately. And I said, hopefully it's not fluky. Hopefully, because the Steelers turnovers, they come in bunches. They had 5 against the Patriots. They had 6 yesterday. I mean, it's like when they get on a roll, and those floodgates open, it's like everybody gets fired up. They play harder. The effort's there. The execution's there. And you just seen it. He fired up the whole defense. And with, they've been hearing it. They act like they don't listen to what anybody says and they don't go to social media, but they hear every bit of it. And if they don't, family members tell them. It's been bad because, everybody's saying, hey, this might, I said it might be one of the worst contracts in the NFL on defense right now. And, he had a couple other close plays he pressured and all, but that was his one time getting home. But, hey, it just opened the floodgates and everybody started making plays. So that's why they signed him to the contract. So I'm glad he finally showed up.
I am too. It was well timed, well needed in that moment. Like we mentioned before, the Steelers have gone out 3 and out a couple of times. They got the ball in scoring position and then lost it on downs. And it looked like the Indianapolis Colts were going to be just moving the ball down the field. And next thing you know, Steelers got the ball back. And I was like, all right, you got to do something with this. You got to move down the field. You got to score a touchdown. The Pittsburgh Steelers go up there, score a touchdown, tie up the ball game. And that, like you mentioned, that's when the floodgates start to happen. There's been a lot of criticism against this team on the defensive side, especially. And, I was expecting just before that this, TJ Watt did what he did. I was listening closely to hear if there was any of the boo birds yet, to hear if there was any firing chance, because I was expecting it to happen if the Steelers were going to get off to a rough start, and it started to seem that way until that moment. But defensively, they had themselves a game. One of the big moves that we have to talk about are the safeties. Duggar came in there. Kyle Duggar played, I think, all but one snap on the defensive side.
Mm-hmm.
Ramsey was the free safety throughout the entire game. Do you think they found an answer there at the safety position, especially given Deshaun Elliott's going to be gone for a little bit? Is this the tandem that you feel comfortable going in? I know that Jabril Peppers has a quad injury. I don't know if he's going to be long, out for a significant amount of time. If he's able to come back, do you take Jalen out of there, put in Jabril Peppers, and put Jalen, have him moving around again? Or do you think maybe the Steelers should just kind of keep him there at the safety position?
I think Ramsey's most value is he's going to be a full-time safety soon. I thought it would be next year. I love him as a versatile piece, and put him at slot, slide him outside in a special moment, and play him at free safety. Yesterday they needed him the whole game at safety. But you cannot say enough great things about Duggar. Duggar is a professional. Now, what happened, Daniel? By the fact that they had all these guys sick with illness or injured, they had to totally. You didn't have to worry about Clark blowing things or messing up because he wasn't in there. Thornhill, they took him out. And they play
Right.
Duggar, and Duggar's a professional. He's physical. We saw how physical Ramsey was. He got a penalty, which I didn't agree with. He blew up a couple of guys. Ramsey is very physical. He'll be a great safety. I was well pleased with the safety play between Duggar and Ramsey. That was an upgrade over anything they've had this year, even when Elliott was playing. We must remember, I love Elliott, but he's had some personal issues this year. 3 weeks in a row, he did not play like Elliott, Deshaun Elliott. His mind wasn't in the right spot. He's been off. I think it's too many off the field personal problems. So I thought everybody was on the same page. They simplified everything because they had to, because you brought a guy in, been there 2 days, and now he's a starter. I think he had 2 practices. So, but I mean, thank God he is a professional and he's experienced, because he played very well. And I'd like to see him beyond this year. I know the Patriots are paying part of his salary, and he's a free agent after this year. I'd like to see him around for a while, because I wrote an article about him 2 years ago when they signed Elliott. One of the guys I was interested in was Duggar, and I thought he played excellent. And they give him the game ball, and it was well deserved, because that's the best the secondary's looked in a long time. Now, they still got problems. We got to understand, did the Colts have a punter?
They didn't need him.
Because it was either a turnover or they scored. So the only kicking that was done was they were kicking off after they scored touchdowns, and we got to see Williams and Gainwell return kickoffs. But, I mean, the Steelers defense cannot get off the field. If it's 3rd and long, if it's 3rd and 7, if it's 3rd and 2, they'll give up a yard and end the tush push. I mean, they cannot get off the field. The only way that the defense has been effective this year at stopping anybody is turnovers. I'd be willing to bet they have more turnovers this year than they do 3 and outs. I bet you they have forced more turnovers than they have forced teams to go 3 and out. They can't stop nobody. So one game yesterday, they got 6 turnovers. But I'm telling you, the problem still ain't fixed. Now, I'm hoping that Duggar and Ramsey and some of these guys that are having to play, we've seen improved effort to tackle it, didn't we? So I'm hoping that will move forward.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, they did get off the field. Well, they didn't get off the field, but they were more successful on 3rd down this game than they have been. It's just that they were highly ineffective on 4th down. On 4th down,
I'll give you that. Yeah. But it's always they would give it like a 4th and 1 where they would easily execute.
One of them was on a fake punt. I wasn't expecting it. I think the announcers were being real critical. They're like, everybody in the building expected that to happen. I was like, I don't know about that. They were on their side of the field.
Coaches are ballsier now.
Yeah.
than they used to be. Nobody would have done that in the past, but teams do it now.
Well, analytics has been a big part of the
Exactly.
a part of the
Did you
NFL
see that
now.
during the game that Tomlin is like at the bottom or next to last, and the amount of times he goes for it when he should,
Oh yeah.
according to analytics?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised. And they're playing against an aggressive team that was going for it quite a bit. And the Steelers needed to have turnovers because if not, they weren't stopping them the way like you mentioned. 6 turnovers. Peyton Wilson ends up having a huge interception. He ended up getting a drug test afterwards by the
Yeah, he played
NFL.
so good they drug tested him.
That's when you know you had a good game.
You
Is
had
when
a
they
good
come
game.
knocking. He ended up having the interception. He also had a tipped ball back to Jack Sawyer for another interception.
He was like,
it was awesome.
Sawyer's
Yeah.
like, what?
It was kind of a breakout game for Peyton Wilson.
Yep.
What were your thoughts about the middle linebacker position? Was Cole Holcomb one of the illness persons?
Illness, yeah, sick, yeah.
Yeah, because I saw Harrison out there a little bit,
Yep.
or a
Played
lot
good.
of it.
Played well, yeah.
I thought he played well as well. Is that another answer? Because I think he's more of a thumper. So the Indianapolis Colts had a running game. Steelers were able to put a stop to it. Jonathan Taylor had what was it, 14 carries for 45 yards.
Yeah.
Jeez, they put a stop to it.
Yep.
What do you think about the defense? The up front guys, how they apply pressure, and that includes the front seven.
I don't think they've played enough. We're going to miss Equality.
Yeah.
I really liked his acquisition. I think he was a real quality rotation guy. They're trying Atamio, I think he says his last name, 93. They're trying to get him some work, a few snaps. Hopefully he can, develop to be part of that rotation because Loudermilk's not the answer. But, Black's getting better each week. I think Harmon's getting better. But part of the simplification is they actually run more true 3-4 yesterday instead of 4-2-5 like Big G's always talking about, and the more of the true 3-4 yesterday, I thought helped. You had to be very careful with Jonathan Taylor because he's like any of the great backs. Once they get going, it's hard to stop them. You have to not only stop them before they get through the line with a full head of steam, but you also can't let them get in a rhythm. And one thing that killed the Colts running game, I'll be honest, is they kept turning the ball over. They usually have 10, 14 play drives a lot. And Taylor starts getting into that rhythm and starts pounding it. Well, every time they get 3 or 4 plays into a drive, they was turning it over.
Yeah.
So everybody says one of the things about the Colts is they pass to set up the run, and then Taylor destroys you. Taylor's like a closer at baseball. He comes in and he closes the door. He crushes things. But by trying to throw the ball, they put the ball in the air, and the Steeler defenders did make plays, whether it was interceptions, tips, like you said with Wilson, or sacks and forced turnovers. So, again, I would rather see just straight 3 and outs, and you make a punt off for it there because you played quality defense. I don't like relying on turnovers to win a game 27-20. But right now, that's where they are. So hopefully they'll continue to improve.
Yeah. I know there was a stat that was out there saying that the Steelers got out, that the Colts outperformed the Steelers in yards and things of that nature. And although I agree it's a 60-minute football game, but with about 5 minutes left in that game, I think the Steelers were leading in almost every category, that comes with that game. But in garbage time, the Colts were able to put up some points. Then, they were aided with a Roman Wilson fumble, which probably took 3 points off the board for the Steelers, put 3 points on the board there. So that's a 6-point swing there. I mean, there was a lot of context that's added for that. I think the Steelers were well in control of that game and we're going to win that game. Yeah, it's unfortunate they allowed that to be the case that they only won by a touchdown. Even Aaron Rodgers said at the end of the game that, you have 5 turnovers or 6 turnovers, you expect to be winning by like 30 points. And so
the average, I think,
23 or
six turnovers. I think it's like at least a 14-point victory.
Right.
If like throughout the years, I mean, if you force 6 turnovers, the record of success and winning the game is astronomical. And I understand what you're saying, Daniel, but here's the problem. They shut Warren down. And Warren was, he's a really good rookie tight end, and he's been hurting people. Right. And tight ends have been killing the Steelers. So they really focused on Jonathan Taylor, which I wanted them to focus on. And they focused on Warren. But the wide receivers, 2 guys had over 100 yards. Mm-hmm. And they give up, even though Jones had 3 interceptions? He had 300 some yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns. I mean, there's still problems there. Let's just say that. But hopefully this will be a springboard to playing just fundamentally sound, to whereas they can still be effective even without all the turnovers.
Right. And I don't disagree with you. I just think that this was a game that probably was not as close as the scoreboard anticipated. Although
shouldn't have been.
No, it definitely shouldn't have been.
No, you got to say they went conservative.
They did.
Like I said, Tomlin doesn't use analytics at all. He doesn't listen to the fans or any of us at all. He's stubborn and conservative. He's going to do it his way. So what happens is they get a lead. They're like, okay, he's sitting there in his head. They got to score 3 times. We're winning by 17 points. So we're going to give them the ball. We're going to play soft defense. Let them drive down. It'll take them 8 to 10 plays. 3 minutes. They'll score. We'll get the ball back. We'll get a first down or 2. And then we'll kick it back, and then they come down. But they'll run out of time. That's how he thinks. I sat there. I knew exactly what the Steelers were going to do once they went up with 17 points because it gets so conservative. And I'm just saying it's not the way the game is played now.
No, it's not. And, against I don't want to say a better team, because this was a team going into this game was the best team in the NFL record-wise. And statistically, offensively across the board, they were putting up some monster numbers. And so, I would say against some of these better teams, that can put up points in a hurry, you go super conservative that early, they can do some damage to you. Mm-hmm. This team here, the Colts almost came back. They got within an onside kick of having a Hail Mary chance of tying the ball game. And
they should have definitely. One of the maddest I got in the game, because I know they're going to be super conservative, right? So that means you do everything by the book. Okay, the book is it's 3rd and 13 or 14?
Yeah.
And the Colts had used 2 timeouts. They had 1 timeout left, and you're still winning by 10 points. Mm-hmm. You run the ball on 3rd and 14 because the odds of you getting it with this offense is slim to none. You run the ball, make them tackle you, keep the clock moving. And then they'll have to use that timeout or let the clock run down. And what did they do? They threw it and stopped the clock.
Yeah.
Because Gainwell didn't turn around. I mean, they wasn't on the same page. See, there's still little things they can improve on. That's a communication thing. And Rodgers is really good realizing they're blitzing. There was a free slot blitzer from the backside. Rodgers knew he had to get rid of it, in like a second. And Gainwell just didn't turn around fast enough. But what I mean is, if you just go ahead and run it there, they'll use their last timeout, and then the game they wouldn't have as much time as they did have.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. And so, there was another element that occurred throughout the game. I want to get your opinion. Were you as confused as I was when Boswell kicks the ball out of bounds? And there's an image of Danny Smith clapping and cheering it on. At first, I was like, "What in the world's going on?" Like I I wasn't familiar with the rule. How were you during that moment when there was a personal foul on the extra point,
Yeah.
and the Steelers opted into utilizing that on the kickoff? What were your thoughts about the 1,000 IQ play by Dana Smith and Chris Boswell and that whole situation?
When that happened, my wife was like, "Why is he clapping? Why is he celebrating?" And I said, "Okay, the new rules confuse the heck out of me. I love the old rules. So the new rules, I know that if it lands in the end zone and it goes out of the end zone, they get it to 35 and they get it. So I said there has to be a reason. I did not know that it's so many yards from where you kick off, so they
Right.
would automatically get it to 25. Thank God they knew that, because obviously Boswell kicked it right out of bounds. It has to be at least past in the zone. I don't
Yeah.
know if a lot of people realize that. He couldn't just kick it straight across the field. You have to kick it down past, I think, the 30 or whatever the landing zone is.
Right.
So luckily they're caught up today on all these crazy new rules. But yeah, I was the same way. I'm sitting there saying, I'm sure they knew what they were doing, and thank God they did.
Yeah, because I know that the personal foul occurred, and they're like, we're gonna assess that onto the kickoff. And I'm
Yeah.
like, man, all I know is that in Madden, it doesn't do anything. It actually kind of hurts you because it's harder to hit it into the landing zone.
Yeah.
And so next thing I know, there's a penalty and it said kicked out of bounds. And I was listening to some other people that were calling the game live, and they're all like, what kind of mistake is that? How do
Yeah.
you kick it out of bounds? And then they're like, why are they on the 25?
Yes.
I was like, I don't know why they're on the 25 either.
Nobody could figure out why he was celebrating until the ref had to explain it.
Yeah.
He said, "My rule, it's 30 yards from the kickoff spot." Yeah, it's like, okay, thank the Lord. I'm glad they knew. I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, it worked out. It worked out. I wasn't aware of it, but it worked out for the Steelers, and they end up closing the game out. And Joey Porter Jr. gets an interception. You know, they were showing Peasy, his father, up there. It was
Yeah.
they were celebrating the 2005 Super Bowl victory, or the 2005 team that ended up winning the Super Bowl. So a lot of alumni players were in town. They need to bring them in for more games if they're gonna.
I would give anything. You see Papa LeBeau.
Yeah.
He was sitting right there behind JP. You know, when they showed Porter celebrating when Junior got the interception, there was Dick LeBeau. I said,
Yeah.
I'd do anything to get him back. If we could just get him back, say, Charleston, thanks for playing. We appreciate you. Bye-bye, bon voyage. Put LeBeau back on there. I mean, he looks like he can still do it, dude. What is he? He's got to be 80-something now.
Probably.
But he looks good. He can do it. Bring him out of retirement. We need Dick LeBeau back.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be nice. Him and Munchak, you get those two, get the bandwagon together.
Exactly.
Let's get the band together.
I'd be thrilled.
In the end, the Steelers win. They beat a team that is going into the game is rated number one across the board in a lot of aspects, including the standings. Steelers go in, they get a big victory, jump up to 5-3. How big of a victory is this for the mentality of the team? I know they were down. I know that they had a team players meeting the night before. Ramsey got up and spoke to the team. They go out there and things turn the other way, and this is a route the other direction. I think this could be a disastrous moment for this team. But instead, they go out there and they win against a team that, I guess most everywhere that I saw was picking the Colts. I picked the Colts to win this game.
Me too.
So what do you think this game does for the Steelers, and how does it catapult them in for the next couple of games? Like, I think the next game now going up against Los Angeles in LA is a huge game, and this could be a springboard if they continue to build off of it. What do you think?
Well, it was a huge game. The players needed it. I don't expect any changes from the coaching staff. I think they are. I mean, like I said, 19 years, Tomlin is who he is. And anybody expecting anything different, it's just going to be disappointed. And Terrell Austin's just a figurehead. Arthur Smith's trying to be creative, but unless they do make a move and try to bring in another receiver, he's kind of limited what he can do. So he's trying to maximize what he has, and that's why the heavy package works. That's one of their advantages. Um, and you got to keep Aaron Rodgers healthy. Hopefully, no more sliding in at the one and getting hit by three guys. That I said, oh gosh, I just seen what happened to Jaden Daniels last night
Oh yeah, that was
happening to
ugly.
Rodgers, and the season's pretty much over. Thankfully he didn't get hurt, but I just I like the fact that Ramsey's stepping up because I expect Ramsey to be around for a few years, and I expect him to hopefully have a trajectory at safety. Hopefully, like Rod Woodson and Charles Woodson and guys that make that switch from Pro Bowl level cornerback to Pro Bowl level safety. And I can see we want to when they finish this season, the guys who are going to be back are a lot of young guys that are foundational building block players. So we want to still see this offensive line continue to develop. We want to see the young running backs, the young receivers, the young guys on defense that have been brought in the last 3 years, gel so that they can add a piece or two here next year and be even more serious contenders. But I just they needed somebody who, because I know Cam tries, but Cam gives speeches all the time, but it doesn't change anything. And when the head coach's message grows stale, you need somebody else that has got the respect in the ear of the locker room. And I think Ramsey does. So I think that was a huge moment that not only did he make the speech, but you've seen the results on the field.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, somebody needed to stand up. Somebody needed to be that voice of reason and shock, to shock them into shape. Like, hey, here's a new guy, a guy that's done it before,
Yeah.
another gold jacket type of player that's going to come up and say to your face what you need to hear. And some of these players probably needed to hear some reality, right? I mean, they were hearing it from the fan base, they were hearing it from the podcasters, the beat writers, and everybody in between about how this defense is. In fact, before the game, there was people apparently with caskets outside of Acrisure Stadium, and when you opened them, it said Steelers defense, and there was missing. Yeah, there was some missing signs. There was a lot of things that were going on. Everybody was tired of it, and all everybody has heard, from mainstream media and everything and everybody in between is how much this defense costs and how much they're paid and how little they're doing. And that has to have gotten back to them. I think it's created a chip on their shoulders. There was one thing I said in a little extra plug in my audio podcast, audio only podcast, was that this defense reminded me of, I think it was the Ravens defense of last year. Maybe it was the year before, where they started out of the gate stumbling. And I think it was Mike Tomlin who had said, and it was after they had moved, I think, Kyle Hamilton's strictly as a coverage safety or something of that nature. I don't know what they did. But he had said, that's still a really good defense over there. They got some really good potential. They just got to figure some things out. Mm-hmm. And I said, I feel the same way about the Steelers defense. They have a lot of potential. They got a lot of key players in key positions. There's a lot of new players and newness to this team, a lot of injuries that have occurred. Once they figure it out, I think they're going to be okay. I don't know if they're going to be this historic defense that Tomlin, made them out to be before the season started. But I think they're going to be a lot better than what they've shown. And I felt that I don't know why, but I felt that the game against the Indianapolis Colts, maybe it's because I felt that Danny Jones might hold on to the ball a little bit longer than some of these other quarterbacks that the Steelers have faced here recently. And that if he holds on to the ball just a little bit longer than what these other quarterbacks were, that maybe perhaps these outside pressure guys or the outside linebacker in the interior rush might get to him a few times, and they were able to, and we saw the product on the field. So I think I think they can build off of it. I hope so, at least.
I want to address two things you said real quick. Uh, Danny Jones has had a really good season, and I think he'll continue to have a good season.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Experienced quarterbacks who know how to play the Steelers, who've had success against the Steelers, who've played the Steelers multiple times, especially within the division, know how to hurt the Steelers. I feel better when it's an inexperienced rookie or a guy who come from the NFC and only played the Steelers maybe once in his career. Those guys usually don't do as well against the Steelers. Even if you played the Steelers and you struggled mightily your first time or second time, you start to figure out because they've done the same thing forever. It's the same defense. And those guys, experienced guys, give the Steelers fits. So I had hoped that Jones might make some mistakes. But the way the run defense has been so bad, I thought that Taylor would have a bigger game. But they really focused on him, and they focused on Warren where they should have focused. And that totally messed up the Colts offense. And because the Steelers offense was not as good yesterday as they'd been the previous weeks. But, again, 6 turnovers and they won. I will say this. The Steelers haven't had a guy who could come out and be vocal and tell the truth in the locker room. Love Minka Fitzpatrick. He tried. He spoke out. He said a couple things that wasn't great about Tomlin. And where's he at now? He's in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Now he had the resume to have guys listen to him, but he did what you can't do. He said something negative about Tomlin's discipline, and now he's gone. So what's the difference in Ramsey? Ramsey, as you said, future gold jacket, but he's not talking about Tomlin. He talked about what the players need to do, and he kept it. He left Tomlin out of everything. He focused on the players only meaning, and he gave his speech, and he had the respect of the locker room. See, I think Cam used to have more respect than he does now. But when you talk about, I got to feed my family, and if I don't get this extra money, my family, come on. These guys start to realize it don't matter if we win or not. They're just worrying about a paycheck a lot of times. In the end. Even though he probably got more money than Ramsey got, I don't know. But that being said, Cam Hayward played his tail off yesterday. That was the best game he's had this year. He was disruptive. He hustled on every play. I don't know if anybody remembers. Before Harmon recovered the fumble, Harmon, it was second and or maybe first and 10. And he run 9 yards downfield and made a big tackle from behind.
Yeah.
Because if he hadn't made the tackle, I think it was on Warren, actually. Warren had a lot of open field in front of him. Then the very next play, he recovered a fumble. I don't remember who forced it. But those are the kind of plays Harmon will make because he hustles. And where does he see that? Where does he learn that? Watching Hayward. Hayward's notorious for running 30 yards downfield, different times in his career to make a tackle. From behind has a huge defensive lineman. Yeah. So I think Hayward can still lead by example. But I think that the Ramsey is kind of got the ear and he's the voice in the locker room right now. And that gives me hope that they can turn some of this around.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you anything that you said there. I will want to add though, that you mentioned with Minka, I think the other difference, as you mentioned, is the production on the field. Minka was kind of, hadn't had too much splash there towards his latter part of his career with the Steelers. And this far this year with Jalen Ramsey, he's shown up. He's been a difference maker. Teams have avoided him. And in the big moments when they have targeted the players that he's been guarding, he's come up with a big either stop, force the ball out, or more. So
Ramsey's playing excellent. I just remember far too much the last 2 years. Fitzpatrick was a box linebacker. He was constantly down. they wasn't able to utilize his best skill set, and he took a beating them last 2 years and let him in tackles. I mean, he played his heart out, and he got frustrated.
Yeah.
And who could blame him? I don't blame Pickens for getting frustrated with how terrible the offense was.
Right.
I mean, Pickens had every right to complain. You just don't throw tantrums on the sidelines, much less on the field. The way he handled it, I had a problem with. Not the fact he was frustrated, because we were all frustrated.
Oh, I agree. So what do you got going on this week there, Shannon? What's on the calendar for you?
Well, like I said, like our normal 8:00 Wednesday night prime time, pump your brakes, Brother Tate and Big G, and we'll go over at least my surprise. I don't remember if they picked them to win or not. I can't remember. But I'm sure they'll tell me I'm wrong and all that. So definitely tune in, and we'll have some interesting discussion.
Awesome. Check them out on Wednesday. Tomorrow, it's the Big Bro Sco Show with Dave Schofield and Big Bro Sco. You don't want to miss it. I'll be back on Saturday on the audio-only podcast at StillCurtNetwork.com and an episode called The State of the Steelers. You don't want to miss it. We'll be previewing the upcoming matchup against the Los Angeles Chargers. With that being said, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. You guys know what to do. Shannon, take us out, my man.